Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, sponsored by WinBet. I'm Clay Link of RotoWire.com, here with Todd Zola, FSWA Hall of Famer. Always a pleasure to be on with you, Todd. Today is going to be the DH cast. Going to go team by team in the NL and discuss who could benefit from the universal DH, which was confirmed yesterday. And as we do this, I'm actually going to update our admin on the back end and
multitasking.
Yeah. And on the front end, we'll have updated batting orders with the defaults having DHs, and we'll have DH on the depth charts for NL teams very soon. Todd, how are you today?
I'm just playing around. I just noticed that if I leave my mic right there, it looks like I have a microphone tattooed onto my arm. Anyway.
You have any tats?
No.
I don't either.
Hell no. Well, first of all, it's air quotes against my religion. Not that I eat bacon. So anyway, but actually I was joking this morning. I had blood drawn for a 3-month checkup. I said I'm going to get a tattoo of an X where they always draw the blood. So I'm actually looking at the picture. I got my landlord put a new overhead light. Light's better in here. Hey, cool. Anyway,
yeah, it does look pretty darn bright.
Now you can really see how ugly I am. All right.
Nice.
You think?
I know you said you might want a RotoWire background though sometime soon.
Yeah, well, yeah. Right now, everybody. What books does he have? What does Zola have on the table? He's got trash bags on that table, and he's got. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm not the. Don't have.
Got a Hall of Fame plaque back there.
Yeah, it's the only place I have. Well, I mean, I just kind of realized that I'm not really showing off. It's the only place I have for it. But anyway, yeah, things are good. I'm optimistic about tomorrow, at least.
Yeah. The owner's proposal.
I mean, we do the MLB show. I don't think we're going to be preempted for an announcement, but I do think this is a positive sign for movement. So.
Well, yeah, I was saying yesterday when I was doing the pod, the Reds cast with Jeff and Jenny Butler and Doug Dennis. I was saying that at least I heard him say. Manfred say that they're committed to making an agreement, that they're committed to not missing games. We'll see if that's actually the case, but that at least, gave me some maybe false hope, but hope nonetheless. But Todd, we did get the news that the owners and the players have agreed to the universal DH.
Yeah.
Kind of figured that was coming, but good to get that from the horse's mouth. Well, and I'm wondering, I'll mention what I kind of said yesterday after you go, but I'm just kind of wondering how you're approaching things. Are you doing a widespread, downgrade on the NL pitchers? Anything you're doing right off the jump with this news?
Yes. Well, we had a little practice heading into 2020. So we having dealt with it before. I mean, you mentioned, it's good to know. I mean, this time, maybe not this time, but I mean, last year we expected there to be no DH, universal DH. So
yeah, I was pretty sure we were going to have
right. So
dead wrong.
This we say it is assumed. It was I opened my piece this week talking about the worst kept secret in the MLB is now finally out of the bag. That's the DH. I'm actually writing about it. It's taking on more than I thought it would. So I didn't get it posted for today. Hopefully, it'll be posted for tomorrow. I've done this before the 2020 season, how I'm going to adjust for the NL pitching. I want to bring the baseline for the NL pitchers as if they faced a DH in 21 and 18 and 19. 20, we have the numbers. And it's making a lot of assumptions which are explained, and it's not perfect, but I think it brings the baseline a little more apples and apples. And it's going to change. It's about a 0.15 difference in ERA. So a 3.6 is now a 3.75. So for someone who drafts kind of agnostically and probably the way you should draft and not get married to a static projection, if you see 3.6 and 3.75, you're still thinking about the same players. Now you're upside, downside, other factors in the ERA. If you take rankings that are formulaic, or based on formula, 5x5 formula, it's going to shuffle up with a 3.6 versus 3.75. But again, proper drafting, you don't just take one from the top. You say, geez, 3.6, 3.75, man, that's the same pitcher. So it will shuffle up rankings Whether that's enough to influence you to change who you take at a certain spot, I think there's other factors involved, but it could.
Yeah, that sounds about right. My stance was kind of that I have most of my NL pitchers ranked about where I'd take them. I think generally I have pitchers just a little softer ranked, a little lower than where I expect them to go in like the big money main events and NFBC drafts. So I have my guys about where I expect to be wanting to take them. And especially as we're doing this first pitch Arizona speakers draft, which we'll talk a little bit about, especially in future weeks, when we move on from the DH. I'm just finding that, there are pockets of value where I want to take a guy, and this news won't really lead to me downgrading NL pitchers too much because I already have them a little lower than I'd expect to see them go.
Yeah.
Generally, I kind of need. Let's see who I took so far in this. Well, Verlander, McCullers Jr., Bednar. I got some work to do on the pitching side. Buehler, I have ranked ahead of where I took him in the second round. So he's kind of a polarizing guy right now, Buehler.
The thing with Buehler, you say in the second round, that goes back to my old, you draft the pitcher, not the round. If you want a pitcher, you probably had a tier of Buehler, right? With Buehler and some other guys. If you want one from that tier and that tier is going faster than you expected, you got to take him. You can't say, oh, he's not worth that draft spot. You have to say, I need a pitcher from this tier to make my plan work. I better take him now. Now, if you're saying you're shuffling them up and you're diversifying your portfolio and you already have a bunch of, Brandon Woodruff as an example, and you took Buehler instead, it's still the same tier.
Very true. Well, do you want to dive into the DH options?
Sure, let's dive into the. I said on Twitter, everybody's gonna be talking about this, so let's dive. I'm gonna try to come up with one name per team that's kind of like, oh yeah, and that's more for your 37th round of a DC or maybe NL only. NL only. So I'm going to try to come up with a name, and I guarantee 3 or 4 of them aren't even on the team anymore. But because I hit my rankings aren't, I missed a guy being cut or not signed, whatever. But anyway, I'm going to try to figure out one. Oh yeah, per team.
That's great. That'll be helpful for our listeners, I think, especially those playing in deep formats.
Yeah.
So looking right now, we added the DH to the depth charts on the back end on the admin in 2020, of course, for NL teams. And then when they did away with it on the front end, we took them off the site, but we do still have the DH there listed on the depth charts on the back end. So for Arizona, I'm going to have to bump Christian Walker out of that top spot because we also have him at first. But I do expect Christian Walker to probably be a guy who DHs a fair amount with maybe Pavin Smith at first base between first and right field.
Yeah, I think I have them both for like 80% playing time. Without a DH, it would be at least 10% less, maybe 70, because platoon players, a lefty platoon bat, all he does is sit against right-handed pitchers. It's around 72% of the playing time. Mm-hmm. So 80% means they, in Walker's a righty, so that's not even a platoon. It's just the number I landed on. So that's kind of the basis. But no, I agree that, I don't know that. Another 50 or 100 at bats. Okay, sure. I think that probably matters a little bit. But yeah, I mean, don't you think that? I don't know if our show gets more at bats, but does it increase the chance that Dalton Varsho plays as much as we think he's going to with the DH there?
I would say yeah, because
I'm not adding more at bats,
DH,
right?
Yeah.
I'm not adding more at bats, but I'm more confident that he gets the ones I projected, right?
Because he can move around and give others a break from the field occasionally.
Yeah,
I think he's a good one. Seth Beer was a guy who I think maybe Jeff Zimmerman mentioned on Twitter recently, not in relation to this conversation, but I think he mentioned that he might be DH only.
He's DH only. Yeah, we were listening. Jeff Erickson was mentioning how few DH only players there are, and he didn't list Beer. Beer is now important, and I think he's kind of one of the common ones people are talking about for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Mm-hmm. The under the radar guy for me on this team is Jordan Luplow. Again, he's a righty platoon, but if I think he will see more at bats either in the field or at DH. Maybe Pavin Smith, his DHs for the day, so Luplow plays right. So Luplow to me is going to get more, more than the 28% or whatever it would be of platoon at bats. So he's more of an NL only type guy.
Yeah, that's a good one to throw out there. Looking at the depth chart, Josh Van Meter, I don't really expect him to be much more than a quad A guy in time.
Cycling back to the catcher Varsho, if Alec Thomas hits well and makes the team or comes up early, it doesn't eat into less of a chance of eating into Varsho's playing time too. So I think you're not as worried about, if Alec Thomas crushes it, crushes the Varsho dreams. I think it's not always going to be the case.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, this is actually tough because I usually like to have different people atop each position, and this is tough for Arizona. So maybe I'll leave Walker at DH, bump Pavin Smith up to first at first base, then Luplow atop the depth chart in right field for now. Does that sound about right to you, or does that sound a little off?
Yes. I mean, I think you can make an I mean, Walker and Luplow. So Walker and Smith, you can go either way. I mean, I have Walker at first base, but it doesn't really matter. I think in Smith and right, but then who's the main DH? You make Seth Beer the main DH. It may turn out to be that way, but I think these things should flesh out too. Knock on wood. Once spring training starts, does Seth Beer play a lot in the field? Where is Pavin Smith playing in games? Where is Walker playing in games? So these things will flesh out, knock on wood, within the next few weeks.
Yeah, they're saying they still want to have at least a month of spring training. Right now, I believe that spring training's on, but with minor league players. But I think probably after tomorrow they delay it.
Well, no, there was a confusion because there were a couple of reports where the reporter had it wrong. The commissioner said they will not play minor league spring training games with minor league players. They will not do that.
That's good.
Yeah. So he also said they believe they need 4 weeks. So if the season starts the 30th, you need March 1st games don't have to be played on March 1st, but players need to be in camp on March 1st. And position players that's around the time they were going to be there. It's the pitchers and catchers that usually get the couple weeks to loosen up and PRP drills, et cetera, that sort of thing. Hopefully they're throwing on their own. I think there's still an outside shot that there's games for us to see during Labor and first pitch weekend, which is the 5th through the 7th. We may be seeing the openers of some teams.
Yeah, true. Now moving on to Atlanta,
I
would imagine it's mostly Marcell Ozuna at DH there.
Is there a chance he gets suspended?
He already was retroactively to September 10th, meaning he has already served that ban. But I guess the felony charge that stemmed from his May 29th arrest was dropped, and there's a chance that the misdemeanor charges are dropped if he meets the conditions of his diversion program within 6 months. So he may not end up facing even misdemeanor charges from this. And I believe the Braves have said they are going to welcome him back. So, personal thoughts on him aside, it does look like he will be playing for Atlanta. Then does that open up time in the outfield for anybody notable for you, or is it kind of a wash between Guillermo Heredia, Orlando Arcia, Travis Demeritte?
Well, with the obvious caveat, they've got a big hole at first base. Atlanta does, and it's not a given that Freddie Freeman comes back. So you got Duvall, you got just Pache getting the shot, obviously Acuna. I think it probably gives Arcia a little bit more time, and I think Pache maybe give him a lot of look, and I think it potentially opens up the pathway for Drew Waters to get more major league time than he may have previously. But the under the radar guy, and I should have checked to see if he's still on the team. But Travis Demeritte is the guy I've got down as someone who may pick up a few extra at bats at DH. Again, I don't care about him in mixed, but maybe I want him in my NL Tout Wars reserve.
Yeah, he was added to the 40-man roster in November, so he is with the team and had a big year at AAA. Wow, let me just confirm these numbers. Yeah, at AAA last year, 81 games, he had 21 homers, had a 938 OPS in 81 games. So, yeah, I remember he used to have some hype, right? He was kind of
Detroit, yeah.
kind of
He's got some power.
Pick.
Yeah. So I mean, again, these are the. I hate the word hot or hot takes or long shots or whatever the expression is, but yeah, these are to me they're plausible. There's a pathway. I'm not predicting it, but I think that some guys, we're both doing a DC now. I mean, in the 38th or 48th round, who are you going to take? There's no one there. I mean, you never know. There's pathways.
Yeah, so Ozuna, probably some Travis d'Arnaud there to try to keep him healthy.
Sure.
Adam Duvall, maybe Riley there. Before we move on, though, Todd, let's sort of a quick word from our sponsors. And now we are back on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast, sponsored by WinBet. Clay, Link and Todd Zola going team by team, and I'm updating our depth charts at RotoWire, trying to get these designated hitters cleaned up and kind of solve the puzzle as they stand now to be sure that we have, different people atop the depth charts at each position. Now for the Chicago Cubs, the next team up for the NL. Oh, man. I mean, maybe some Clint Frazier, even though I expect him to play quite a bit anyway. But I do feel like him, maybe Wilson Contreras until he's traded. Frank Schwindel. Anybody else jump out to you for this Cubs team?
Harold Ramirez.
Yeah.
Harold Ramirez has shown flashes of mediocrity with the Guardian. Well, then Indians, now Guardians. I think that there might be some. I don't know if Wilson Contreras is going to get more playing time. I just think he may get more of it at DH because he was one of those, played a ton anyway. I don't know if he picks up more playing time, but I think he gets off his feet, especially when you got Yan Gomes, a pretty capable backup. So I think that the Cubs may try to get a little bit more playing time for if you want to figure it the other way, think about it as a catcher in NL only, Yan Gomes could benefit. Although I'm not so sure you want more at bats from Yan Gomes, right? It may not be a good thing. As far anybody else, I don't know. I mean, they've got a bunch of names. Are they going to bring somebody in? I doubt it. So I think Clint Frazier and Harold Ramirez are probably the two main ones, and they're not, to me, that's still not mixed league worthy, or maybe Frazier is a later pick mixed league worthy. But I'm not. There's no one I'm running out to get.
Yeah, we have Frazier atop the DH depth chart for the Cubs, and I'm going to leave him there because Hayward and Wright's pretty iffy at this point. He's could be on the way out. But then Rafael Ortega in center. I feel like we don't ever talk about Rafael Ortega, and the drafts I've done, I feel like I haven't thought about him once. Now he did fall off pretty hard toward the end, but he had a 823 OPS in 103 games, 11 homers, 12 steals, was caught 6 times. But should we be thinking and talking more about Rafael Ortega of the Cubs?
I think he's going to play in that. So he checks that box automatically. So what does he do when he plays? He's gonna hit double-digit home runs and steal double-digit bases. Therefore, he's relevant. It's, can you absorb a potentially low batting average? I think that's the thing with Ortega. I don't want to use poor man's Adolis Garcia. Is that fair? I don't know. Same idea though, in that the power speed combo, but with a strikeout issue to lower the batting average. I don't see the Cubs. You see the Cubs bringing anybody in? I don't. They've got some kids on the farm that may elevate a little bit quicker. Maybe, I don't know. Nelson Velasquez is he the guy that looked good in the AFL, or am I confusing it?
I don't really remember, to be
I'm pretty
honest.
sure
I know Brennan Davis has a ton of pedigree, and
right. I don't think we saw him at the AFL.
No.
There's someone from the Cubs that just went goofy at the AFL. I'm pretty sure it was Velasquez. I think if you're an Ian Happ truther, it gives that much more of an possibility that he stays in the lineup because they need to fill those at bats. So again, I don't see anybody that I'm like rushing out to get that have changed things all that much. But it was I think it was Velasquez who impressed me at the AFL. Looking at his, added to the 40-man in November. So that it was based upon a good AFL.
On to the Reds. We spent time talking about
them. We can spend all day.
As I mentioned yesterday, we talked about them. So go back and listen to yesterday's pod if you want a ton of Reds. We'll just briefly go over them here. I expect them to bring somebody in because I don't really see like Aquino being an everyday guy or Senzel. Senzel's who I'll probably leave atop the DH depth chart for now, but Moose number 2, probably Aquino, Winker, maybe Tyler Stevenson. Maybe that helps boost his plate appearances a little bit. Any sleepers here that you like, Todd?
Sleepers, yeah. I mean, you guys got the Reds covered pretty well. I don't know that I see. You know what? Maybe Akiyama, if he gets another chance, if he impresses, because I think it gives a pathway that if Akiyama impresses in the spring, that there's a pathway to playing time.
Yeah, I mean, he has not hit for any power, but he can get on base, so we'll see about him. Moving on to Colorado. This team, man, I don't know what this team's doing. They'll probably give Blackman some days off from the field. Crone, maybe a guy like Colton Welker, who got a very brief look last year. 19 games. Really,
I think Connor Joe's
a good one.
Can build upon his. Again, he's not gonna. I mean, he's play a little bit more. And anytime you get a little bit more in Colorado, it could be a lot more for stats, right? I think Colton Welker is the good call as far as someone that the under the radar that you aren't going to be seeing on everybody's list as far as player goes. So I think that one's a good one there.
Yeah, nobody else really on this team that I'm dying to pick up, and even in light of this news, I mean, Crone I could see drafting, but a lot of these guys I'm finding myself far off on when they go in drafts. Like Hampson, I'm nowhere close. Brandon Rogers even. So I just don't see myself having a lot of Colorado Rockies. For some reason, they fancy themselves contenders even still, Todd. How wild is that?
It's the pitching. I mean, the bat, they can hit. It's the pitching that's the thing. So, yeah.
So on to, looks like we're on to the Dodgers now. A lot of options here. I saw just the other day, I think it was maybe like a Max Muncy Instagram post that got kind of repurposed as a tweet. Sounds like he's at least doing some off-season work, but he's a big question mark. Drafted him in this first pitch Arizona Speakers draft. And I feel like if we knew his availability or knew really anything about his progress, he'd be going a couple rounds higher.
What round did you get him in?
I think I got him in the 11th round.
You got him to me, you got him like in a 5 or 6 round discount.
Yeah, 11th round.
If we knew he was coming, right? He's a 5th or 6th rounder.
He's been really, really good for 3 or 4 years now since he broke out with.
Didn't he had the off 2020, right? Mm-hmm. But then so did a lot of guys. So I don't hold that against him. But yeah, I kept thinking about pulling the trigger with Muncy, but I just never did. And I think I was pretty close by the time you took him. But at that point, I was reaching for my closers. So
yeah, I didn't think he was like a great fit on my roster, but I just couldn't let Muncy slide.
Multi-eligibility at some point, even if you drafted your first reserve in the 11th round, that's in this league, that's not bad. I mean, it's workable.
Well, I hope. I know Jenny Butler said yesterday she doesn't really. Well, not that she is like crossed him off her board, but essentially that in DC you're already going to have so many dead spots. She doesn't want to draft a guy who could also end up being a dead spot if he ends up needing a procedure on that UCL. So for this team, I mean, maybe Muncy. I think probably a lot of AJ Pollock at DH, right? Maybe opening up time for Gavin Lux and left.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Or even Lux at DH, because if Pollock can still play a little bit of defense. Yeah, I could see that. The I don't want to call it under the radar, but I think the player to keep in mind is Edwin Rios. That's coming off of an injury. Justin Turner.
I kind of liked him a few years ago in those draft and holds because the minor league batted ball numbers are insane.
I liked him enough to acquire him in the XFL as a potential keeper. I didn't end up keeping him because I just had other keepers and it was just too much of my slots were filled. But I mean, Turner could DH and Edwin Rios. Well, not that Rios is a great defender either, Actually, I think Turner's probably a better defender, even at advanced age with his bad knees. But I think that Rios is the bat to keep in mind for coming off the injury as someone who could, again, NL only 47th round of the DC, someone to keep in mind.
I wanted to look up how many appearances Gavin Lux had in the outfield. And 17, 11 appearances in left, 10 starts. So, with them bringing back Chris Taylor, that does look like probably his most likely path.
Well, I was going to say, who do you, I mean, all right, so Turner plays second, not Turner. Yeah, Trey Turner. The other Turner plays second or short, whichever. Yeah. You think that Taylor plays one spot, or do you think he jumps around again and Lux just plays second base?
Yeah, maybe that's the case. Maybe because Taylor can play the outfield. Maybe they essentially bounce around a little bit, both of those guys. And, Cody probably Bellinger in center. I've heard he's had a great offseason, so that's good. I think I will leave Pollock atop the list at DH and then Lux, the number one in left. I don't expect it to be really that way, but, with Pollock probably DH-ing a lot, I could see Lux in the outfield. Maybe a little Zach McKinstry, who had a little flash in the pan last year.
Sure.
And how about Miami, Todd? Now, this is a weird team because I do think they're going to be making more additions to this club, but
I've got too many at bats right now with Miami.
Yeah, it just feels like they were on the verge of a spending spree. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but they brought in Rafael Garcia, and it felt like they had money burning a hole in their pocket a little bit.
Well, they brought in Garcia, and they brought in Joey Wendell.
Yeah, that's true.
Or Wendell. So are they going to bring more players in? I don't know. Maybe on the pitching side, I guess in the bullpen perhaps, but. Again, I have them
with Castellanos.
Ooh, man, wouldn't that be interesting? No, like I said, I'm already over projecting that, not by a ton. Well, they also brought in Jacob Stallings, so I mean they've made some moves. I don't know how much more they've got, but I don't know. Maybe I'm over projecting some players like Brian Anderson and Brian De La Cruz, but I've got too many at bats already, so we'll see.
Well, Anderson was the guy I just moved up to the top of the DH because at third base, you probably have Wendell there. Maybe he plays some second, but you got Jazz Chisholm. They brought back Miguel Rojas. So, yeah, especially after the injuries Brian Anderson dealt with last year, imagine he's the guy to put number one for now. And then maybe like Lewin Diaz.
Well, it depends. I mean, again, platoon, et cetera. Does Aguiar just bat against righties and then Cooper picks those up, or is Cooper the DH?
Cooper. Yeah.
So again, they've got a lot of in Lewin Diaz. They've got a lot of not to be confused with Isan Diaz. In the middle
had surgery to repair a torn UCL.
Right. I
had a ton of injuries.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I got John Birdie hardly playing, and he was a regular a couple of years ago. So they've got a lot of moving parts. But as far as someone who's going to, step up and potentially get more playing time, it's probably Cooper, and I think that's not a surprise. I don't know that I have an under the radar name on this club to put out there as someone who can, I guess it's really not related, but I kind of like Nick Fortes as their backup catcher in NL only. Other than that, that's not what we're talking about. I don't have the DH guy maybe to wow people with.
Yeah, no, I think James, I don't want to say I know because I think he said he really likes Jesus Sanchez as a sleeper. He'll probably played a lot of the outfield.
Love him a lot. Yeah, the batted ball metrics are good. Yeah.
Yeah, so probably, some Anderson, Lewin Diaz, Garrett Cooper, maybe some Nick Fortes. That's a name I really wasn't familiar with. So
it's not DH, but just as the second catcher.
Yeah, because Jacob Stallings, maybe he DHs a little bit. Of course, I'm a Reds fan, Todd, but in this draft we're doing, you might think I'm suddenly a Brewers fan because I took both of their middle infielders. Actually, no, I took a corner infielder in Luis Urias.
I took Mr. Wong, so you couldn't have taken him. Yeah,
I took Urias, who was eligible at second, I believe. Yep. And then Willie Adames I took. I'm pretty happy, and I'm targeting a few other Brewers the rest of the way. So this is a team that, offensively they really scuffled. I know you hate that. I'm sorry. I steered into that one. On the fly, I just decided to say that to press your button. But I mean, offensively in the postseason, they fell on their face. But I think there's some sneaky fantasy value on this team.
Oh, for sure. I know it's in that park, especially, in what is it? Great
American Family.
American Family, yeah, the insurance company now. Oh, absolutely. I mean, Rowdy Tellez, does he get more playing time now with the DH, or is he just more assured that he remains with the playing time? It opens up a pathway for Hura, a pathway for Keston Hura, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to add him right
his
now.
best position is DH. Forget about strikeouts. If you just put him at DH and let him focus on hitting, who knows? I think that someone definitely worth a flyer. The under the radar. I mean, there's other guys we can still talk about. I think this helps Mike Russo get, the playing time, the jack of all trades playing time with this club. But assuming he's still with the club, and we don't have a note that he isn't, that we know he signed with the end of last year, is David Dahl.
Yeah, I think he had a minor league deal with the spring invite.
Yeah, so he's someone to think about. Maybe playing DH keeps him a little bit healthy. Although this guy seems to just get hurt, looking at his legs, let alone actually running. But it's just another someone. Maybe I don't know that I want to invest in a DC. But I'm in an early fab league and I can get rid of him if it doesn't work out. I think David Dahl is someone I'm interested in.
That's a good one. I actually put Hira. I know he was optioned down, but I think I'm going to put him number one and then Rowdy number one at first. They do have Jace Peterson. You targeting Tyrone Taylor at all? I've seen some love for him, but I can't really. When I dive in, I don't really see it myself, but he does have a little speed, so maybe that's.
Yeah, I think this is another team that I think might have a move left in them if they do want to compete. I don't know that you can go into the season. You got Yelich and you got Hunter Renfroe, center field splitting between Taylor and Kane, and then mixing and matching. I don't know who they get as a center fielder, but I think if they fashion themselves a competitor, they want to go out and try to get one more player.
Now the New York Mets, they're next up. Went on a spending spree. Good for them. They deserve a lot of the grief they've gotten over the years, but now that they have this new owner, he's opening up the wallet. What's that guy's name again? Steve Cohen. Yeah, I mean, when your franchise that you're a fan of is realigning payroll to resources, you grow jealous of teams like this that are actually willing to spend millions of dollars.
I just wish he'd back off Twitter a bit. It's almost like he's trying to. He reminds you of running a wrestling promotion. Some of his tweets.
When you're that rich, you should just not log on. Just log off forever. So what do you think? Is Robinson Cano the guy here?
I think there's a little bit more leeway with Cano. Mm-hmm. He could have batted himself off of the club, I think, but now there's additional playing time. This is another club that has just got a bunch of DHs, Dominic Smith and Davis. Although Davis isn't terrible with the glove, but Dominic Smith especially is going to open up some playing time. But I think that it gives Cano a bit of a parachute.
Yeah, I said yesterday, like the very first guy who popped in my mind here was Dom Smith, like just with the DH, because I've always liked the bat. Just doesn't have a place to play. He's miscast as an outfielder. But yeah, he's still got Cano there taking up a spot. So, and they're both lefty. It's hard to say. I think I'd maybe give the slight edge to Smith actually, because he's actually, I think if you give these guys at bats, he'll outshine Cano at this point. But Cano, last time we saw him, could still hit a little bit.
Yeah, so maybe... I mean, there's no under the radar guy on this team just because there's so many over the radar guys.
Yeah, JD Davis you mentioned.
Yeah, there's just so many guys.
They have like 3 DHs.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know that there's someone that I expect to shine elsewhere. I mean, you got Kana Marte and Brendan Nemo if he can stay healthy in the outfield. I don't think there's not a lot of talk about them bringing Conforto back, so I think they're pretty set as far as that goes. But yeah, if there's anybody, be Cano.
I know they're saying about. There were rumors about them maybe looking to trade Jeff McNeil, so maybe he's out. Then that would maybe clear second base for Cano, and then more time for Dom Smith at DH. I never like it when a team kind of like removes their high ground with the leverage by saying they want to deal a guy. But that would make sense to deal McNeil for some pitching help and just kind of open things up for other players here. McNeil's a good player. And you mentioned Conforto. I'm holding out hope that he kind of follows the Nick Castellanos path. Maybe he could talk to Castellanos, kind of build up his value in Great American Small Park and then go elsewhere.
Well, a lot of these guys are going to have to take 1-year deals just because there's not going to be enough time to negotiate anything more, and or they don't like the number they get, so they want a pillow contract.
True. Now, Philadelphia Phillies. I'd imagine JT Realmuto gets some run at DH when his legs need a rest. Rhys Hoskins as well. But what about maybe like Matt Vierling?
Yeah, he's the guy. Now, it's back to Realmuto. He played so much anyway, played a little first base. I don't know that he's going to get more playing time because if this was 5 years ago, perhaps. But I think at this point, it's just that he gets similar amount of playing time, but more of it at DH. I don't know that I'm adding extra playing time.
I've heard that sentiment.
But maybe Vierling is the guy. Yeah, Vierling is the one. I think he's both the over and under the radar player that I think we need to take a look at as far as either getting more time in the outfield and someone else DHing or DHing directly.
Yeah, they have some options here. I mean,
I've got several holes in this team. I mean, I've got them with the ability to bring in 3 players. Whether they bring in 2 and I have to raise the playing time of a third, I don't know. But I've got a hole in center field, a hole in left, and basically a hole in DH. So I think this team has got some work to do.
Yeah, it's tough because Vierling may be in center, but I don't know if he's like an everyday guy. But right now, there looks like there's a lot of at-bats available for Vierling. But I do think they would probably bring in a few guys. Not on the hitting side, but are you drafting Corey Knebel right now, Todd? I'm interested.
He's one of the guys I'm somewhat interested in because I'm going the later closer route, but he seems to be going a little bit earlier. I might be a little bit more onto him now than I was. And, you mentioned the speakers draft. Brent Hershey's in it, Philadelphia fan. I kind of thought that Philly might be in the market to bring in or trade for Kimbrel or bring in Jansen. But Brent seems to think that it's going to be Knebel. And if you feel that after the surgery that he's going to be healthy, and a lot of relievers have been in his scenario, then I think maybe he needs to be in the same. He needs to be in the just above the Barlows, but below maybe the last guy that you think for sure you're drafting with a job. And I'm just haven't been looking for closers in that range, but I was kind of dismissing him, figuring Philly was going to bring somebody else in. But Brent seems to think they won't.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, Knebel has experience closing, so maybe they're willing to let him run with the job, and maybe they'll spend that money they have on to improve that offense.
You think quickly back to the hitting? You think this gives Scott Kingery one more chance?
He signed. I doubt it.
Right? He signed.
Yeah.
So it's more of a, even if he gets a chance, you're just not confident in the skills.
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed. I think the fact they kept him down for so long, and even with that contract, just said you're not really part of this team. So
all right, I
don't see it, but yeah, there will be opportunities. At least how it looks now. We'll see if there are new additions who take up more of those projected at bats. For Pittsburgh, I'd imagine a lot of Yoshi Tsutsugo, who I do kind of like. Kind of a sneaky guy who I liked when he came over. It didn't work out in Tampa Bay, but then when he got his run with Pittsburgh last year, he looked pretty darn good.
Yep, over the second half. So whether it's Tsutsugo or Chavez, I think what it does is solidify his playing time for both of them. Mm-hmm. And where they play, we don't know just yet. But I think it does solidify playing time for the two of them. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I got Tsutsugo number 1 to DH, and then maybe like Gamble and left. Brian Reynolds will play a lot. Then maybe like Anthony Alford, Jason Collette, his bold predictions for the NL. He liked Alford to emerge, mostly because of the lack of options. Alford has a lot of athleticism, and maybe they just turn him loose, see what he can do. Hasn't done much yet, but he's a a deep leaguer to maybe think about. Cole Tucker, maybe in this list. Hoy Park, who was with the Yankees, had a big minor league run last year with the Yankees, but clearly they weren't really believers in him being a big force, so they sent him to Pittsburgh. Anybody else on this team that catches your attention?
Maybe Jared Oliva, just because of the need for speed. He was kind of my guy along with Edwin Olivares last year, and it's just because of the speed. And right now I've got, like you mentioned, the two outfielders, and at DH, and I mean basically I've got right field being filled by six bodies, giving everybody 10% playing time. They don't have a right fielder. I don't know that Pittsburgh will bring one in. I think that they may play some games. Maybe Cole Tucker emerges, plays a little outfield. But yeah, so Oliva is the guy that I'm not quitting on. I will draft him in the 46th round of a DC.
Well, we got to pause momentarily to bring you a word from our sponsors. Hope you'll bear with us, and we'll be back to wrap up the DH cast today. If there's one thing we appreciate here at RotoWire, it's making good decisions, and even more so, making the right decision. Listen up, folks. I have an incredible offer for you with RotoWire's newest partner, WynnBET, the premier digital casino and sportsbook app. WynnBET is now the exclusive sponsor for RotoWire's fantasy podcasts. WynnBET brings you all the latest action with a user-friendly interface, moneyline bets, boosted parlays, over-unders, round robins, live betting, and so much more at your fingertips. Want a break from sports betting? Head into WynnBET's digital casino and take a spin on roulette. Double down in blackjack, slam the slots, or try your hand at Baccarat. WynnBET is currently available in 8 states: Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. While rapidly expanding at WynnBET, the possibilities are limitless. WynnBET is currently offering all RotoWire listeners a risk-free bet up to $500 on your first wager. Download WynnBET now. That's WYNNBET. WynnBET, the exclusive partner for RotoWire's fantasy podcasts. Also, experience a new way to play daily fantasy sports on Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is an exciting player prop fantasy contest. With Thrive Fantasy, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus on only the top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Sign up for Thrive Fantasy today and receive a free 6-month RotoWire subscription. Here's how you can claim your free RotoWire subscription. Visit rotowire.com/thrive. Deposit a minimum of $10 and receive a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Then finally, play in your first paid contest and receive a free 6-month RotoWire subscription. So, Todd, as we wrap things up today, we'll power through the last few teams in the National League. San Diego, I mean, Will Myers probably. He's still hanging around. The skills really aren't that bad, but the speed's waned, and not somebody I've been very interested in. But you got to think his playing time is probably more secure now.
I don't know, but is it more secure? I mean, San Diego, I have them with one big opening, and they could bring in 2 bats. So I think Myers is going to play 3/4 of the time anyway. So I don't know that he's the guy that's going to improve his stead because of the DH. It just may shift around. Bringing in Jorge Alfaro, I think that, and Victor Caratini in tow, I think that someone like Austin Nola may get more playing time, and that would be because he's catcher eligible. So he becomes a more attractive catcher, I think, with a little bit more playing time now. And I think it may actually open up more for Alfaro too, because he's not splitting time at catcher. So I think one of the domino effect of this is both Alfaro and Nola are now, to me, it's almost kind of like double tap them in a league, in a DC league, and get your 2 catchers from the same team. And I think, if one gets hurt, the other catches even more. Profar, probably kind of like Will Myers, who's going to play, but it just kind of shifts around where he plays.
Jake Cronenworth, I believe, made about 20 appearances at first base, so maybe Hosmer a little bit at DH. Maybe if Cronenworth plays more first, maybe some Ha-Seong Kim. People were excited about him this time last year.
It could. Again, it just depends upon what they do. I've got them with a hole in right field, and then enough backup positions in the other outfield. So I think they could bring in one regular and one, kind of utility type defensive minded outfielder. Again, they could give more playing time to other players and like him and make it all work. But to me, they're a team that's going to be very, very busy once the commissioner and the Players Association say go.
Yeah, Profar, he opted into his maybe the final year of his deal. 6.5 million player option. They don't have to play him. It's probably more of a util guy, but yeah, that would leave some at bats open. I mean, Trent Grisham's a guy who was lingering on in our draft for quite a while in that first pitch Arizona Speakers draft. Any interest in rolling dice on Grisham and a bounce back from him?
Yeah, sure. Especially for some speed. Yeah, he just absolutely. In the 10th, 11th, 12th round, I think he's definitely on my radar.
Yeah, I was a little surprised how far he was falling, but I think I went elsewhere when he came around. San Francisco Giants. Wilmer Flores actually kind of quietly was pretty darn good against righties last year. Well, maybe not great, but the split between his numbers against lefties and righties was thinner last year. A long-time platoon guy, but you see him, maybe Longo, maybe Darren Ruff.
Yeah, this is another team that's got so many. Anytime that a team plays platoons, they've got the bats. They just may not enjoy the platoon, right? You may have to do a lot of righty on righty stuff. But like you mentioned, Darren Ruff even hits righties very well. You mentioned Flores, so a lot of the righties, it's not as if they can't hit right-handers. It's just they hit better against lefties, and they've got lefties to hit those right-handers. Is there a quiet guy on this team? Austin Dean, to me, is the guy. Assuming he's still with the club. I have him. I have him as a minor league contract, that sort of thing. If Austin Dean is hanging around, he's someone who I've always thought just deserves a chance. He didn't get it in St. Louis, and I think it was Miami. Didn't get a chance in Miami. Yeah, we've still got him there. Claimed off of waivers in November. So to me, he's somebody that could emerge.
I like that one as a deep call. Maybe that could happen. Tommy LaStella, remember him? He's still around.
I remember him.
I know you do. I was just facetious. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like Wilmer Flores given the multi-positional eligibility. He just always seems to rack up the at-bats.
Yep.
Even though you kind of project him for that short side platoon, could end up playing more than you think. On to our final two here. St. Louis. Oh, man. I mean, Juan Yepes, maybe? Lars Nootbaar. One of the great names.
I think it opens up an opportunity for Nootbaar to get more playing time, build on his AFL success, if you will. Yepes, this is another team that, are they done? I don't know. I think they need a utility infielder. And do they bring someone else in for the outfield? You got Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader, and Dylan Carlson. It's like they're all they're all pretty good. Well, I think O'Neill can be very good, but Bader and Carlson, they're starters. But you'd like one of them to be better on a championship team, and maybe Carlson becomes that guy, right?
Yeah.
So I think that they're set. So now, you move DeJong a little bit into the DH and bring an infielder in. They've got some flexibility there. Or is just Nolan Gorman? Is he the guy that they accelerates early and comes up and hits? And is he the guy that takes up some DH at bats? And last year Sosa and Bando Sousa, with everybody back being healthy, maybe Sosa fills in a bit of DH or plays the field and lets DeJong or someone else play some DH.
Yeah, I'm going to leave DeJong there because actually at the end of last year, he got supplanted by Edmundo Sosa as the regular. So, I didn't realize that Juan Yepes was actually like a pretty highly touted prospect. James has him fourth in the organization. AAA Memphis, and James has thrown out some caveats about AAA numbers, but 289, 382, 589, a 971 OPS, 22 homers in 92 games at AAA last year for Juan Yepes.
Yep.
Didn't realize he was that good. That's pretty impressive. So, yeah, maybe some of him, maybe Goldie. And, I'm going to leave DeJong there for now because, he kind of took a back seat to Sosa. Maybe Sosa ends up being their primary shortstop again this year. Then finally, we are on to Washington. Man, I mean, Josh Bell. You like Yadiel Hernandez at all?
A little bit. Thing is, he's up there in age, right? I mean,
he's like a late bloomer, super late.
Yeah, right, exactly. Not quite like Mike Yastrzemski, but along those lines. And that the way he emerged last year, you think he's a kid. And you look at 32 or whatever it was. I remember from writing in my daily notes for ESPN about how I thought he just came up, but he didn't. He was a late bloomer / veteran. Yeah, this is a team that again has bodies, but are they going to bring? What are they going to do? Is Andrew Stevenson a regular? And you mentioned Hernandez. Is he a regular? Obviously, Soto is. And obviously, well, I don't want to say obviously. I don't know that obviously. Victor Robles, is he going to stick this time? And is Lane Thomas going to stick? So who gets the
Robles
extra?
It's so tough to figure out.
Yeah. So who gets the extra, or who's my under the radar potential? Maikel Franco, maybe.
Oh, did they bring him in on a minor league deal?
I've got him listed. Again, I went through some of them and I didn't get to the W's. If Franco's still with the team, then Maikel Franco could be the we still have him listed.
And a minor league contract in December 12th.
Yep. So anybody that signed this, December, I feel as though, we'll get an invite to the spring. So he's the under the radar, sure, I'd like to know that he makes the team before I draft him onto my Tout Wars roster. But he's the kind of guy that could flourish with a DH. And even, we know Nationals Park is maybe not as good as Camden, or maybe now it is as good as Camden with the change in the fences. Mm-hmm. But he's the kind of guy that could flourish in the DH role.
You mentioned Victor Robles, and he's not on the depth chart right now because he was optioned down at the end of last year, August 31st, and never returned. So, I mean, I was a guy who was kind of a proponent of his, saying, look what he did at whatever it was, age 22. Yeah, age 22, he hit 17 homers, stole 28 bags. He was a highly touted prospect. And I thought, maybe we shouldn't view the StatCast numbers as a be-all, end-all with him, but those StatCast skeptics were proven right on Robles. Is he even on your draft board?
No, not really. No, the thing with the StatCast is I'm not concerned about the blue for guys like Miles Straw and for guys like Robles. It's all about power. And I think that when you mentioned 17 homers, I think that was the issue with Robles, is he fashioned himself a power hitter, or a guy that can hit double-digit power. I think if he focused more on contact and, kind of like played a little bit more of the Straw type game, we could have a 260, 35 steal type of guy and, run into 8 homers instead of running into 17 homers. And I think he would have more of a future. And not that Straw's a 10% contact guy. He's still 17, 18, 19%, but it's lower than Romero, or strikeout guy, inversing contact and strikeouts. But you think you know what I mean. So if Robles comes back and doesn't play the Willie May, give me 20 every time he hits the ball in the air, I think that we still could have something out of Robles.
And you've said you kind of like Lane Thomas, right, as a sleeper?
Other people are higher on Lane Thomas than I am.
Okay.
I think right now he's going to get the playing time, and to me, I'm on the playing time bandwagon. But I think we're going to see some give back from the production that we had last year. This team, I mean, again, I don't know if they're done or not, but I can't believe that Alcides Escobar, has a job, and I can't believe he played well last year, and I can't believe I even recommended him one day last year too. That's how bad it got.
And I know you recommended Luis Garcia in one of your ESPN articles.
Yeah, I'm looking at him now. Does he get more playing time now? I don't know. I mean, Cesar Hernandez we like. There's a bunch of, who knows guys, They've got D. Strange Gordon, hanging around. We mentioned Franco.
Ton of openings, it seems like.
Yeah, and this is a team that I'm not sure if they will go out and go out and spend, because I don't know if their pitching is ready. I think that I don't know that I don't think their pitching is ready or warrants going out and spending at this point.
Well, that'll do it for the NLDH discussion. I'm sure there'll be a lot of that in the weeks and months ahead. But as we wrap things up, Todd, we're doing that First Pitch Arizona Speakers slow draft, 50 rounds. We're only in the 15th round right now. But any just general thoughts you want to give, or maybe picks of yours that you want to spotlight?
Oh man, I made a rookie mistake, and we've both been using this room for a long time. Setting up an auto draft, I had a couple of guys. I wanted to double tap air quote closers, so I had him set up in like 2 rounds, and there was still a couple left, and I did not push them to the next round. I didn't load the closers. I saw that I had them, so it thought I was auto drafting. I said an auto, so there wasn't anybody in that round, so it went to the default, and I ended up with Ranger Suarez when I wanted to get, So basically, kids, no matter how long you're doing it, be careful. I don't want to say the best of us because that's not me. People can, you still can make mistakes. I like this draft. I think Jeff Zimmerman is again going a little off the wall, but he usually goes off the wall and carries his trophy at the end of the year. He's won the last 2 seasons. I like seeing what people what they're doing. It's a bunch of our friends, so I enjoy the camaraderie in the chat room. The link is public. We will post it like when we tap the podcast, or just follow Player Eye. We're talking about the draft enough, but this is a NFBC DC style independent satellite league, not the overall anything like that, and it's just a bunch of people that speak at the Arizona conference.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's I assume you wanted Joe Barlow, right, instead of Ranger Suarez.
Yes, I had Barlow.
You love the Barlows.
I don't
get enough of the Barlows.
I can't. Yeah. I ended up with Kittredge maybe a round or two earlier than I want, but I'm not looking for 35 saves. I'm looking for 20. But with Jason Collette in the draft, I don't know. Maybe he jumps on Kittredge, so I pushed him up. I don't hate Ranger Suarez. I just wasn't who I wanted.
And I mismanaged your queue, right?
Yeah, I'm short one bat now. I picked up most of the players I would have anyway. So I got Suarez instead of Barlow. I still got Nelson Cruz, who I wanted to get, and I just picked up Kittredge. So it's now the next bat I would have been where I would have taken another pitcher who I already have in Suarez. So, there's a couple guys, if they fall, in the end of the day, it'll be, would I have taken Suarez at this pitcher spot, or is there a pitcher that I would have wanted more? And is the rest of the roster just the same, but just, players in a different round? We'll just have to see, because I really like what happened at the beginning. I really like my foundation at the beginning. So we'll see if we can bring it around home. And this is it's kind of, the TGFBI is different in that it's a fab league, but I think it was kind of good practice before we start that. You get your assignment?
Yeah, I forget exactly which league it is, but I think I'm in Eno's league, and it should be fun.
I got Brian Feldman. Which is going to be fun. And I a lot of people I don't know, which is kind of fun. I mean, people are like, it's an easy league. I mean, no, we're using the same player pool. And it's to me, it's going to be I haven't kind of busy now, but over the course of the season, I'm going to enjoy getting to know the people in my league. Because I think that's part of the TGFBI. If you sign up for the TGFBI, you sign up for the experience. And that's part of it, is getting to know the people in your league if you don't know them.
Just real quick, you mentioned that Jeff Zimmerman was doing something a little off the wall to begin his draft. He went with 5 pitchers in the first 6 rounds. So after Kyle Tucker, he went with Brandon Woodruff, Raisel Iglesias, Edwin Diaz, Joe Musgrove, Dylan Cease. And here's how he's made up ground on the hitting side: Brian Reynolds, DJ LeMahieu, Ahmed Rosario, Ty France. Then he picked Seiya Suzuki, kind of notable there. Gene Segura, and I think in the chat he said he'd kind of, if this were an auction, he'd kind of love to live in this range where we are now.
Yep.
When it comes to hitters.
Well, he went high batting average, right? I mean, so he went high batting average with the batters that he took with Reynolds and LeMahieu. So I think he's now going the players with low batting averages that fall, he can now pick up, and if he wants, maybe that's not what he's going to do. Maybe he wants to run the table on pitching, and take batting average and take steals or something, and kind of a Sweeney plan where you don't worry about homers and RBI. Maybe he's trying to run a Sweeney, or maybe he is going to try to make up for the power later. But it's Jeff. Every year we go, what's Jeff doing? And in October we say Jeff won. So
yeah, he's won a couple years at least in a row, I believe. So yeah, I'll try to dethrone the great Jeff Zimmerman. Well, that'll do it for us. Todd and I are going to be back tomorrow on MLB Network Radio. That'll be fun. We'll actually be talking with one of our
Doug Dennis
managers in this league. Yeah, one of our opponents, Doug Dennis. That'll be fun. So join us 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on MLB Network Radio. If you can, anything else?
5 to 6 Central, right?
I always forget.
4 to 5 Eastern.
Let me look up MLB Network.
Yeah, 4 to 5 Eastern, unless we get preempted by the announcement the strike's over.
Yeah, that's right. 4 to 5 Eastern.
In which case, Clay and I will come over to your house personally and do our show just for you. If this season is ruled on tomorrow, and they have a press conference at 4 p.m.
I'm looking up now. Yep, 3 p.m. Central, so that would be 4 to 5 Eastern. Thank you for clarifying that. I should know it, but good to know.
Clock
Todd,
is hard.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you all for joining us. Catch you next time. Let me get this one thing up to sign us off. Catch you next time on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, sponsored by WinBet.
Try RotoWire today, free for 10 days. Get our premium tools, rankings, analysis, and breaking news alerts. No credit card required. Go to rotowire.com/try.